Someone's got to be the yell guy. We'll get Bum's air horn next time. Yes. So there we go. You can? It's good. Yeah. That is officially the full crew. All right, guys, ready to roll. So, practice report, 4 DMPs, Tolly with the ankle, Alvin with the knee/ankle, Chris with the back, and then Justin Reed with the knee. So we'll just let all those progress. We'll see where that takes us. And then other than that, today was a good day. Hybrid practice where we did some full speed and then transitioned into some walkthrough settings outside. And so good day and ready to roll.
Did Tolly re-aggravate the ankle in the game?
Different ankle. So, yeah.
And what about Chris? Maintenance, or did it get worse from playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a back, so it's going to get – you play a full game the way he did. Obviously, it's going to be sore, and so he's just navigating that. And so we'll let that progress. Obviously, he's doing some good, though.
And do you have anything further on the prognosis for Justin Reed?
Justin, just a knee, so we'll see. We'll see how this thing progresses this week.
Obviously, it hasn't reached a point that you put him on IR immediately. So
it's not an IR thing, but we'll just kind of see how this thing goes.
Clarify: is it the same ankle, different injury, or the other ankle for Tolly?
Okay. Yeah, just the other ankle. Just came up in the game.
That sounds like a obvious, but is there any kind of tactical or whatever advantage of just having Tyler be in this position as opposed to Spencer starting the first time against Tampa?
Just his experience playing them. Yeah, obviously, Tyler was able to play the back end of that game, so he got some exposure. It was challenging circumstances. We were behind a little bit against Tampa, and so definitely some stuff to watch on that film. It's be a fun battle. These guys this is a really good team. Obviously, they've played well this year. I think our team's growing and getting better each and every week, and so it'll be a lot of fun to play a division game on the road.
Have you seen growth from Tyler from being thrown in there in the third quarter to now having started 4 games?
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler's done a nice job. I think he's progressing well. There's highs and lows in every game for every player on our team, for every person a part of this thing, and so I think Tyler's progressing well. I think he's grown each and every step of the way, and I think last week was, again, going back to last week, I thought was a great example. We didn't start the way we needed to collectively. There's a lot of challenging circumstances in there, and his resiliency showed up in that game to give us an opportunity towards the end, and so a lot of great experiences to learn from, and so he's continuing to grow.
Sure, that make the opening 53-man roster. What does it do for you as a coach to have a guy who kind of stays patient, waits his turn, and kind of works his way into the position he's in now?
Yeah. Well, first, we loved TB. It's a 53-man roster. We really saw him, view him as 54 then, because he was ready to go from the beginning. And so he's just the ultimate pro, the ultimate vet, lead by example. He's always ready and prepared. His season's, I think, a perfect example of that. He plays these limited snaps and these kind of secondary auxiliary roles on defense, and then when he shows up and he makes the play. It's the one snap a couple weeks ago. It's the big play against the Giants to break up a pass on the flea flicker. Obviously reps all of a sudden increased this past week, and he's ready to respond and has a great, pass breakup in the end zone. And so he's just a really consistent, veteran, smart football player that, you trust at a really high level.
Sir, can you put your finger on any reason why the ground game's kind of consistently hasn't been able to get going? It's like 7 out of the last 8 under 90 yards in the game.
Yeah, I think it's obviously something that collectively we got to find a better solution there. I think part of it is, I think it's the extreme sides of it. We got to avoid the negative, the zeros and the minuses, and then we got to find a way to generate the explosives, and that comes explosives come from every aspect of it. It takes all 11 to be on the same page: the perimeter blocking, the pursuit, obviously the ability to run the football and make a play. And so I thought we got settled in there as this game went, got 4 and 5 yard gains. Now we just got to find a way to create some of those explosive ops.
On that 2-point play, like, is the correction on that, like, you just tell Devon, like, hey, when you hit your line, like, you stay on it? Like, is it a quick, easy fix, or?
Yeah, I think the trick of it is you're doing a 2-point play from the 7, and so there's a little bit of you got to get enough depth to give yourself an opportunity. So he was trying to be as subtle as he could, build as he went, so that when he catches it, hopefully he can get into the end zone. And obviously you look at it, and we'll continue to evaluate that one as far as if you're in a 2-point play from the 7, what different situations you can present. The guy made a really good play. He undercut it and took a chance on this play. Obviously, if the ball gets completed over the top in any way, he's not going to make the play. But credit to Minka. He made a phenomenal play.
And then on the first one, like, do you like to build in, like, 2-3 options? Like, is that just kind of, like, when you get down to that area, like the one where Tyler ran it in?
Yeah.
Like, you had the play to the left, the route to the back, like, you can run it. Like, do you like the quarterback to have, like a menu of things, like, so that there's theoretically always something there?
Yeah, we just felt like it was a really clean play for us based off some of the stuff we had done and seen on their film. And so essentially it's a movement, it's a play action. The running back's going to protect the edge for the quarterback, and so he's got Vay running across the field, and he's got the ability to run it. And the Y technically ran a route kind of late, and I think that was a key part of it. That kept the corner occupied, and so I thought it was just great instincts by Tyler, just reacting, trusting it, and just, okay, I can outrun this and get it done.
When you guys are talking about team building, going back to kind of what I was asking about the wide receiver one on Monday, like, do you guys talk about it in those terms, or is it just, this is our X, this is our Z? Like, how does that kind of factor into as you guys are making a roster, talking about long-term plans or anything like that?
So as far as the receiver room, I think everyone's got to have a starting point. So naturally there's X's and Z's and slots. That's a starting point. But I think one big important part of our operation is just making sure these guys have the ability to, play in multiple spots. And so, you got to be a really smart player. You got to be able to do that. Again, the more you have versatility, the more it allows us to, move Chris and move Vay and some of these guys and put them in different positions. And especially when you get into matchup football, and if you put a guy in one spot the entire time, defenses can kind of make a call, make an adjustment to roll to his side at all times, cloud his side. It's just easier. We got to make the defense work if they're going to do those sorts of things to potentially a Chris or whoever it may be.
Is there anything specific that stands out with Devon that took a while for him to get a grasp of, since it was a new team, that he has in recent weeks been doing really well?
I think we saw him really with a really good future for us, when we brought him in. And so, he was banged up right when he got here, he was kind of banged up. And so we're kind of navigating that for a couple of weeks. And then, as we kind of built it, and then, I thought his experience with the system and ability to handle all the no huddle, which is a little bit of a component that you got to kind of memorize a lot of things in a no huddle setting. And so he's done a really nice job of kind of preparing himself and putting himself in position that once we made a couple of receiver transactions, obviously it became pretty obvious that, all right, he's going to play a ton of snaps moving forward. And he's I think in many ways the ideal Z receiver because of his ability to do a lot of the dirty work in the run game, which that position naturally requires in some run stuff. Off that, you got a lot of play action stuff, and the in-breakers and the kind of the contested catch world that a Z may play in a number of times, and so he's done a great job.
How did he play? Primarily Z, a lot of Z. How heavy was his Z last year?
I think he played a little bit of that and a little bit of slot, and so I think, I always think of Z's and slots as kind of intermixed. Those guys got to be able to move because you can play in and out of those two positions. The X receiver tends to be a little bit more of an isolated one-on-one player. That's just the way it rolls. And so, really, if you look at our stuff moving forward the last few weeks, really Chris and Vay are the two that are kind of moving, within the structure of the formations, and those guys got to play intermixed.
What have you thought about Quincy Riley and just kind of having developed over the course of the season?
Yeah, I think that you just see the consistency show up more and more, and so I think he's just been a really steady player. He's got great instincts in the passing game. Obviously, he's attacking the football. He's got a history of ball production, which I think will continue to show up more and more. And so, for him, he's just going to keep growing, keep getting better. There's a physical component of this thing, playing corner in the NFL, that people are going to always stress you and challenge you with. And so he's got some great opportunities to continue to grow there. And so, but I thought he's done some good stuff.
Did y'all anticipate he like when you drafted him, that if things kind of went the right way, that he could potentially play starting role?
I think you're cautious. We're optimistic that he'd be able to contribute in some way. I think during training camp, you got some indications that this guy has some ability that he can play. And obviously he was coming in a little bit banged up, and so it took him a little bit for OTAs. Training camp, I thought he made some plays in practice. He seemed to make a pick. It felt like every few days and make a play on the football. And so when his opportunity presented itself in this early part of the season, I thought he responded really well, and he's earned that consistent role.
I'm not really sure how to ask this, so I apologize. Is the mindset, kind of following up on when you talk about team building, looking at the future, have you seen enough, because it seems like some of the high moments for Tyler have been really impressive, that he is our guy in 2026 and we're seeing enough to feel invested in that? Or are these final 5 games crucial? Because where you are picking potentially, you may have to make a crucial decision on passing on the perceived best quarterback in the draft or going with him.
Yeah, Tyler's doing an awesome job. Yeah, we drafted him, with the intent of continuing to develop him and let him grow. And so I think he's just done an excellent job of taking advantage of these opportunities. We want to win some games. We want to play well down the stretch and put ourselves in an excellent position for the future with a lot of these guys. And so again, next year and all that fun stuff, that's for a different day. But we wanted to keep developing Tyler. We want to put him in an awesome position to be successful. I think he's done a lot of good, and so I'm excited about his future with us.
Last time around, you guys didn't face Bucky Hurt. What stands out about him when he was back this time around?
Yeah, it's definitely shows up on film. Bucky's just he's a really big time runner. The explosive plays. I think that's the thing that shows up. He's a big part of this offense, and I think as much as all the other things that they can do, which is stresses you, their ability to run the football. If they can do that with him, it puts you in quite the conflict with what they have on the outside.
Kicker on the active roster right now. What goes into that decision of leaving both those guys on the practice squad?
Yeah, there's elevation opportunities, and so it gives us the flexibility to play the numbers game. We're able to keep a few more guys up and protect those guys, and obviously we'll have to make the move for this week, and so we'll be good to go there.
Is the idea to keep going with Charlie? Or are you going to make a decision?
Yeah, we'll go with Charlie. Yeah, Charlie will be ready to go, and so he did an excellent job last week, and we're in a good development phase with both these guys.
Apologize for not knowing this, but would you all be able to, if somebody wanted to sign Charlie off your practice squad, would you be able to have right
Yes.
refusal there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taysom Hill's touches. I know sometimes it just kind of works out that way, but with the amount of work we got after Alvin got hurt, and then the following game with Alvin out, I think he only had 2. Is that right?
Yeah, probably only he had a catch on the sideline, 1 run. It's probably only the 2. Yeah. Yeah, I think this past game wasn't ideal for that role. We anticipated playing a little bit in heavier sets, and early in the game, the run game just wasn't working in the 22 and 13 heavier run game where he was going to be a part of that. And so we got to more air stuff. With 11 personnel, felt like the air stuff gave us at least some 4 and 5 yard runs. And so as a counter, moment to that, Taysom's reps probably weren't ideally what you'd want them to be, and so that's on me. I think he's done an awesome job. You look at the 2 previous weeks, I thought he had a nice impact on both those games, playing close to 25 some snaps, and that's probably where it should be more often than not.
Thanks, Kellen.
All right, thanks guys.
How you doing, guys?
Do you have any takeaways after you got a chance to review last week's game that you didn't have coming right out of the game?
Yeah, I think after you watch it, it's always a consistent thing. It's never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems. So, and that's kind of how it goes for the whole game. I think ultimately we didn't win, so there was just, you look on some of those plays like, man, what could I have done differently to where we could have gotten that first down or gotten in the end zone. So that's what stings the most. And then you look at some of the good plays and you think there's some encouraging stuff just as a whole unit, and you try and replicate that. And but for me, it's, I want to be perfect on every play, and how can I do that and give us the best chance to win. So ultimately we didn't do it, and we kind of keep going.
Kellen was talking the other day about how his philosophy is you have to earn tempo, basically. Like you can't just come out and start in tempo. You got to get some first downs first and stuff. What are some ways you think you can get yourself going earlier in games, like even when the offense is kind of in a 3-and-out, the run game's not going, since you've obviously had a lot of success when you do get to the picking up the tempo?
Yeah, I think just communicating to the guys continually throughout the whole week. Once we actually get to game day, like, hey, let's have a, let's get our piss out here. Let's get going. We got to get going, and ultimately it comes down to just execution. There's a third down. That's what it comes down to realistically. But I think creating that message, kind of having that juice. We can continue to do that. I think that's what I'm going to try and instill, and that starts with myself, and that starts with me being dialed. So I think ultimately, like, I agree with Kellen, we have to be able to kind of get rolling to change the tempo and to do certain things. So I think any offense is going to be successful when we do that, and I think it just comes down to the situational football, and especially against the Buccaneers, you don't want to be in third and long.
Obviously, the Tampa game was like your first real exposure in the NFL. Like, how do you feel like you've grown since that point?
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, I mean, each game, every single week. I've said it before. I feel like I've gotten better and more and more comfortable in being able to see new things, learn from new things, different footworks here. How can I get my eyes in the right place versus coverage, and who am I? What am I doing? And getting a feel for the receivers. I think that's kind of the fun part I like. Every single day is you're kind of learning something new about what makes them tick, and what route feel do they have. And so for me, I think it's a continual process. I think the cool part about this division is I think we have some really good teams in this division. It's a challenge every single time. So it'll definitely be good to play them again, and looking forward to it. And we got to be dialed as an offense.
Yeah, 3 of the next 5 games are going to be repeat opponents that you face. Does that? Is there eagerness to kind of get at their game? Does that affect your approach at all in terms of film study that's actually against you and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think you're obviously watching. It's nice when you're playing division games, you get to watch your own film again. But at the same time, this is my first time doing it to where you're going against a divisional opponent for the second time. You're playing an opponent for the second time. So I'm sure there's going to be wrinkles. There's going to be things that we're going to have to be dialed in on. And likewise for us, we're going to have to manage our game plan. So looking forward to the challenge. And I think we'll have a good week of prep to go out there down to Tampa.
What do you think of Devon Bailey in that game in Miami? And how has he kind of helped you get developed and acclimated?
I think, we were talking about in the locker room, like, he's just kind of a safety blanket, knowing he's going to catch anything you throw his way. I think he's kind of proven that, and each day he's, he kind of gains that confidence. He'll have certain days where, we'll look back and like, hey, how can we, get on time with this route, or what are you thinking here? So I think what he's so great about is just communicating wise, super smart, and then obviously you put on tape that anything you kind of put in his direction, body, out of frame, he's going to catch. So really proud of him, and I know, continually we're going to try and keep capitalizing on that. And then on time, scramble drill, he does a really good job. So we'll keep going.
When you talk about having those conversations with him, is that something you guys have been doing from the get-go, or was there a point when it wasn't happening for him quickly right away that you started spending extra time working on that?
He's always been great about showing up. All the receivers do a really good job showing up on on our off days, watching film. We're just being around each other. And I think from the first day he got here, he's been putting in the extra time to just learn the offense. And I think a lot of the early, action that you guys may talk about as far as not getting as much. I think it's just kind of sometimes how the cookie crumbles with certain plays. But he's been such an asset for us in the pass game, run game, asked me and doing different things. So I think, he's kind of shown what he can do, and we can continue to build off that. But he's earned the right to be in the game almost every single snap from what he can do from that standpoint.
Did he ever join in on those Monday sessions, or would he have not qualified for being part of the developmental group, I guess?
I can't remember specifically, but I think usually he would be. I mean, some weeks I think he did. I'm trying to think back, but no, I mean he would usually be getting rehab or something like that or treatment. But I think a lot of the stuff afterwards, post practice wise, in the film room, that's kind of what I'm referencing to. Is he's just great about communicating with that. So he's showing up to film sessions, all those things. But actual reps, we get quite a few in, post practice.
Is there anything that you can point to as like a specific example of now that we had worked together that opened this up? Or?
I think it's just continual reps. That's what's been shocking to me, even as a starter, having a different role, but just how limited the actual reps are in practice. From a backup perspective to essentially zero, to even as a starter, you're still not getting an extreme amount, especially with certain guys. It's only on a few routes, so that just the utmost importance of putting in extra time, and just that's kind of. As the weeks go on, it starts to build up, and that's why you see, I think, over years and years where you see that comfortability kind of grow with certain guys. So I think we'll just kind of continue to do that and see where we can go.
On the touchdown throw, obviously he wasn't by himself, so what are you looking for there to decide, hey, I'm going to give the guy a chance versus, maybe pull it down, maybe run? Like, what are you kind of looking for there?
There's a trust factor for sure. I think there's a trust, and I have that trust in him and all of our receivers to go up and make that play. And I'm going to do my job to try and put it to where it's either it's us or nobody, especially in that scenario. So he just did a really good job going up and making the catch. And I think with all those guys, I can continue to trust them more.
I think the catch radius, obviously, that he has, does that make it a little easier just in terms of you have more leeway of where you can put the ball?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's even on a lot of those scramble drills and really some of those catches, he's making the tough ones for sure. So I think that gives you confidence as a quarterback to go put it out there.
Did you jump off the last meeting about a Todd Bowles defense that you can maybe take with you this game?
Just last time we played them, you're saying? Yeah. I think every tape you watch, he does a really good job of mixing things up. They bring pressure quite a bit with all their guys. So we just got to be dialed on our game plan and just be ready for what they're going to bring us. So I think he's, if not the best defensive coordinator in the league, and a lot of respect for what they do. So I think for this week and the second time playing them, just making it about us, I think when we had operational issues and, we had some mistakes there that kind of set us back. And if we can be dialed there, I think we'll have success.
Identifying pressure on you, is that on Fortner? I don't know how it works with Eric out now.
It's a whole offensive unit. Yeah, whole offensive unit. There's obviously a role for both of us. The whole offensive line. That's one thing that I think we can continue to build upon is just having better communication, run game, pass game. Myself, all those stuff. So we've gotten some good answers, and we can continue to kind of grow in that area as well. So I think it's part of it, and part of that growth is obviously it's hard when you have some new guys, filling in, coming back. But I think they've done a good job overall.
I have a way out of left field question for you. It may just be something completely irrelevant. I remember when you left Oregon, you had like Michigan and Penn State. You had a whole bunch of schools. Mm-hmm. Was Ole Miss and Kiffin? Did you ever have any contact with them? And just because he's dominated the headlines here.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. Remember thinking back wise. I remember back in the day, it was a while ago. I talked to Ed Orgeron for a little bit. That was pretty sweet. But no, I hadn't talked to Kiffin at all. Yeah.
Did you understand it?
It took me a little bit on the phone. It was pretty funny. But at the time, I was like, man, that's coming from Arizona. I was like, I've never been out to Louisiana. I was like, sounds like it'd be a great place to play. And obviously, being here, I'm kind of wish I went there. But it was it all worked out though.
What do you make of just as a fellow quarterback, Baker Mayfield? not only his play style, but his story as a young quarterback who, there's so much in front of you that could be adversity. It could go, ideally, it would go better for you than it went for him early in his career. But what do you think about him? How much have you followed him?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think just his journey it kind of pinpoints to, what I really hung my hat on throughout the whole draft process, as far as just when you face adversity in your college or NFL career. I feel like a lot of time guys come out on the other side in a positive note, and he's kind of seen it all from that standpoint of being a really high draft pick and going to different places and kind of having to bounce back. And I think for who he is as a player and who he is, like his personality, at least that bleeds through. And I think there's some guys on our training staff, Sean Gibson, and a lot of guys that have been around him, talk about how good of a dude he is. And obviously that's something that I, try and be like every single day, just who I am, personality-wise, having fun. And also I love just watching his play style, how he can extend plays. He's tough, he's gritty. So a lot of respect for him. Obviously, as, a Saints player and being on our team, we don't really like him very much, when we're playing him. But I can really respect just his journey and something that I, obviously love to follow.
I know I kind of a big picture question here, because obviously you all were like officially eliminated from playoff contention, and people like Kellen have talked about looking to the future and things like that. Do you look big picture and say, hey, look, the next 5 games, I need to exclamation point this thing and let them know that I am the guy in 2026, or is it more just game by game and that'll all work itself out?
Yeah, the latter part for sure. You got to operate day by day, game by game, and understand that I think how I operate within the building every single day, communication-wise, my play style, and what I put on tape is going to determine that. And that's the case for every position. And obviously it's on more of a pedestal playing the quarterback position. But for me, I feel like, I am that guy. I can be that guy. I continue to be that guy for this team. And we got to put it on tape, and I got to continue to do my job. So that's all I'm worried about. And at this point, like you said, this is, while you play football, we're coming to work every single day, and obviously that end goal of the playoffs and a Super Bowl, is out of reach at this point. But, we got a job to do, and we can kind of continue to get better and formulate, who we are as this team and how we finish the season. Thank you.